Life has a way of testing us. It throws challenges, heartbreaks, and disappointments that shake us to our core. And often in the midst of chaos, our instinct is to reach out, to seek distraction, to fill the emptiness with noise. But sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for yourself is the opposite. To stay alone, to retreat into the sanctuary of your own heart, and to heal. Healing is not weakness, it is courage. It is the quiet strength of allowing yourself to feel, to process, and to understand what has truly happened within. When you run from your pain, it follows you. When you face it with patience and self-love, it transforms you. Being alone is not the same as being lonely. Loneliness is a void you fear. Solitude is a gift you embrace. In solitude, you rediscover your own voice, your own rhythm, your own essence. It is in these silent moments that clarity arises, when you can finally hear what your heart is trying to tell you without the chatter of the outside world. Do not rush the process. Healing takes time. Be gentle with yourself. Forgive yourself. Reflect on the lessons and let go of what no longer serves you. This solitude is a period of renewal, a preparation for the life that awaits you. A life where you are whole, unshaken, and ready to love again. Not out of need, but out of fullness. Remember, every great journey inward begins with the courage to be alone. So honor your pain, embrace the silence, and trust that the moment you are ready to rejoin the world, you will do so as a stronger, wiser, and more radiant version of yourself. Healing requires solitude. It is a truth that many of us resist because our world tells us that being busy, surrounded by people, or constantly engaged is a sign of strength and progress. But the reality is that no external presence can heal the wounds that live within your heart. Only by stepping away, by allowing yourself to be alone, can you truly face the depth of your pain and begin to transform it into growth. The solitude is not punishment or loneliness. It is a sanctuary, a sacred space where you can meet yourself without masks, without pretenses, and without distraction. In this quiet, undisturbed space, you can feel what you have been avoiding, confront what has been buried, and gently allow the process of healing to unfold at its own pace. When you are alone, you stop running from the emotions that you have tried to ignore. You no longer have the noise of other people's opinions, the constant expectations, or the endless chatter of social media to divert your attention. In this silence, you meet the raw, unfiltered reality of your own life. And it is in that reality that you find the first spark of healing. You begin to understand that your pain, heartbreak, or disappointment is not a weakness. It is a teacher. It is a signal that something within you needs attention, care, and love. By giving yourself permission to be alone, you give yourself the opportunity to listen to your inner voice, to observe your own thoughts and feelings without judgment, and to nurture the parts of yourself that have been neglected or hurt. Solitude also allows you to reclaim your identity. Often, in the midst of relationships, work, or societal expectations, we lose sight of who we truly are. We absorb the noise around us so much that we forget our own heartbeat, our own desires, and our own values. Taking time to be alone restores that connection. It reminds you that your worth is not dependent on anyone else, that your happiness is not contingent on external validation, and that you have within yourself all the strength you need to face life's challenges. In solitude, discover the parts of yourself that are resilient, creative, and capable of profound joy even after suffering. Healing in solitude is not always easy. It requires courage because it asks you to confront what you have been avoiding. You may feel uncomfortable, restless, or even lonely at times. But these moments are essential. They are the cracks in which light can enter, the spaces where transformation begins. Each tear you shed alone, each thought you examine honestly, and each fear you face with compassion brings you closer to wholeness. This process teaches patience, humility, and self-love, showing you that healing is not about rushing past pain, but about moving through it with awareness and care. Ultimately, solitude is a gift you give to yourself. It is a conscious decision to stop seeking immediate comfort in others and instead find the comfort that resides within. The more you embrace this practice, the stronger and more resilient you become. You learn that being alone is not a state of emptiness, but a state of fullness, where you can replenish your spirit, align your mind, and open your heart to the possibility of true healing. And when the time comes to re-enter the world, you do so not as a person defined by wounds, but as someone transformed by them, Someone ready to live fully, love deeply, and walk through life with a renewed strength that solitude is strength, not weakness. In a society that constantly glorifies being busy, connected, and socially engaged, choosing to be alone can feel uncomfortable or even wrong. Many people associate being alone with loneliness, failure, or inadequacy, but nothing could be further from the truth. True strength is not measured by how many people surround you or how busy your schedule is. It is measured by the courage to face yourself, to sit in your own presence, and to embrace the silence of your mind and heart. Choosing solitude is a declaration that you are willing to confront your inner world, to take responsibility for your emotional and mental well-being, and to nurture yourself from the inside out. It is a bold act of self-respect and self-awareness. When you are alone, you are forced to confront the parts of yourself that you may have ignored, suppressed, or avoided. You meet your fears, insecurities, and unresolved emotions head-on. This confrontation is not easy. It can feel unsettling or even painful because it strips away the distractions and comfort that the outside world provides. Yet it is precisely in this discomfort that real strength is built. Strength grows when you stop running from your challenges and instead face them with honesty and courage. Solitude teaches you that you do not need external validation to feel complete. You learn that your worth is intrinsic, not dependent on anyone else's opinions or approval. Solitude also strengthens clarity and decision-making. When you constantly surround yourself with people, opinions, and external noise, it becomes difficult to discern your own desires, priorities, and values. The mind gets clouded with conflicting advice, judgments, and expectations. Being alone allows you to listen to your inner voice, to understand your true needs and aspirations without interference. In this clarity, you find the strength to make choices that align with your authentic self. It is a strength that is unshakable because it comes from knowing who you are and what you truly want in life. Furthermore, solitude builds emotional resilience. Life is unpredictable, filled with ups and downs, losses, and disappointments. If you rely entirely on others for comfort, your emotional stability becomes fragile, dependent on circumstances you cannot control. But when you cultivate the ability to be content and strong in your own company, you create an inner reservoir of peace and stability. This inner strength allows you to face life's challenges with calmness and grace. You no longer crumble at the first sign of adversity because you have already practiced standing tall, even in the quiet moments of solitude. It is also in solitude that creativity, reflection, and personal growth flourish. When you allow yourself uninterrupted time, you give space for ideas to surface, for insights to emerge, and for self-improvement to take root. The greatest thinkers, leaders, and visionaries often emphasize the importance of solitude in their journeys. They understood that stepping back from the world to connect with their inner selves is not an escape. It is a conscious choice to grow stronger, wiser, and more grounded. Ultimately, choosing solitude is a courageous act of strength. It is not about isolation or withdrawal from life. It is about cultivating inner power, emotional intelligence, and self-reliance. It is about realizing that being alone does not mean being weak. It means being strong enough to face yourself, to heal, to reflect, and to prepare for life with renewed energy and clarity. Those who embrace solitude do not fear being alone because they have discovered that true strength always begins within. Feeling your pain fully is one of the most courageous acts you can commit to in life. It is human nature to avoid pain, to distract ourselves from discomfort, and to seek temporary relief through work, entertainment, or the company of others. But true healing begins the moment you stop running. Babarina. When you allow yourself to feel the depth of your emotions, to sit with your sadness, disappointment, or hurt, you are giving your soul the permission it needs to process, release, and transform. Avoiding pain only buries it deeper. And over time, that unresolved pain shapes your thoughts, behaviors, and even relationships. Facing it directly, even though it feels uncomfortable, is an act of self-respect, self-love, and inner bravery. Pain is often misunderstood as weakness. We are conditioned to believe that if we cry, grieve, or show vulnerability, we are failing in some way. But in reality, the opposite is true. Feeling your pain fully is a sign of strength. It is proof that you are not afraid to confront the truth of your own life. It is proof that you value authenticity over pretense. By acknowledging your emotions without judgment, you break the cycle of repression and allow yourself to move from a state of suffering to a state of understanding and eventual peace. Pain is not meant to be permanent. It is a teacher, a mirror showing you what needs attention, what needs healing, and what parts of you require compassion. When you immerse yourself in your feelings, you begin to understand the lessons hidden within your struggles. Each tear, each pang of heartache, and each moment of despair carries with it a message. Perhaps it is a call to forgive, a reminder to set boundaries, or an invitation to reconnect with your own needs and desires. But these lessons can only be seen clearly if you allow yourself to experience the pain fully. Brushing past it, distracting yourself, or pretending it doesn't exist only delays your growth. The process of feeling is the process of learning. The process of sitting with discomfort is the process of becoming stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. Feeling your pain fully also cultivates empathy and emotional depth. When you have faced your own wounds, you develop a natural understanding of the struggles of others. You become less judgmental, more patient, and more compassionate. Your pain, once experienced and processed, transforms from a source of suffering into a wellspring of wisdom and connection. It reminds you that everyone carries invisible burdens, and it allows you to approach others with gentleness and humility. It is important to remember that feeling your pain does not mean wallowing indefinitely. It is not about immersing yourself in and losing sight of living and losing sight of life. Instead, it is about giving yourself permission to acknowledge, process, and release. It is about creating a safe internal space where your emotions can be expressed honestly without shame or fear. It is in this space that healing begins, and from this space, resilience grows. Ultimately, allowing yourself to feel your pain fully is a declaration that you will not run from life, that you will not numb your emotions, and that you will face your challenges with courage and integrity. When felt and understood is not a prison, it is a passage. It is a bridge from brokenness to wholeness, from despair to understanding, and from suffering to strength. The more fully you embrace your emotions, the more fully you embrace life itself, and the stronger, wiser, and more compassionate you emerge on the other side. Self-reflection brings clarity. In the business of life, we often rush from one task to another, one interaction to the next, barely pausing to catch our breath. In this constant motion, our minds become clouded with noise, distractions, and the expectations of others. Decisions are made hastily, emotions are left unresolved, and our true desires are often buried beneath layers of habit and external influence. It is in these moments that self-reflection becomes not just a practice but a necessity. When you take the time to pause, look inward, and honestly examine your thoughts, feelings, and actions, you create the space to see life with clarity, to understand your motivations, and to align your choices with your authentic self. Self-reflection is not always easy. It requires courage because it asks you to confront uncomfortable truths about yourself. It asks you to admit mistakes, acknowledge regrets, and recognize patterns that may have caused pain. Many people avoid this process because it feels uncomfortable to face themselves so openly. But it is precisely this discomfort that leads to clarity. When you are willing to observe your life with honesty, without excuses or blame, you begin to understand why things happened the way they did, why certain relationships or situations caused pain, and what you can do differently moving forward. Clarity does not come from ignoring reality. It comes from facing it fully, with an open heart and a calm mind. Self-reflection also allows you to reconnect with your true desires and values. Often we live according to what others expect of us, following routines or pursuing goals that are not truly ours. In the quiet moments of introspection, we can ask ourselves the questions we rarely voice. What do I really want? What do I really want? What matters most to me? Am I living in alignment with my values, or am I chasing approval and validation? These questions, when answered honestly, bring a sense of direction and purpose. They guide decisions that are rooted not in fear or habit, but in authenticity and self-awareness. Moreover, reflection helps you recognize patterns and behaviors that may be holding you back. It allows you to see repeated mistakes, emotional triggers, or habits that drain your energy and prevent growth. By identifying these patterns, you gain the power to break free from them. You learn that you are not a passive participant in your life. You are the author of your own story. This realization is empowering because it reminds you that clarity is not something granted by others. It is cultivated from within. Self-reflection also nurtures emotional resilience. When you take the time to examine your experiences, you understand that challenges, failures, and setbacks are part of life, not signs of inadequacy. You learn to respond to adversity with insight rather than reaction, to approach difficulties with calmness and awareness instead of confusion and frustration. This inner clarity creates a sense of peace, stable foundation that allows you to navigate life with confidence and grace. Ultimately, self-reflection is a gift you give to yourself. It is the act of pausing, listening, and observing your inner world with honesty and compassion. It is the bridge between confusion and understanding, between chaos and calm, between living reactively and living consciously. When you commit to self-reflection, you gain clarity not just about your past and present, but about your future. You discover the courage to make choices aligned with your authentic self, to live intentionally, and to step into life with a sense of purpose, wisdom, and inner strength. Avoiding temporary distractions is essential when it comes to true healing and personal growth. Life constantly offers us ways to escape discomfort, whether through endless scrolling on social media, immersing ourselves in work, binge-watching shows, or seeking validation through others. These distractions may provide a fleeting sense of relief, a temporary escape from the pain we feel, but they never address the root of our struggles. In fact, relying on distractions often prolongs our suffering because it prevents us from confronting what truly needs attention. Healing, understanding, and personal transformation require honesty, courage, and focus, none of which can flourish in the midst of constant diversion. Temporary distractions are appealing because they are easy. It is tempting to avoid feelings that are painful, confusing, or overwhelming. Yet the moment we turn away from our emotions, we lose the opportunity to grow. Distractions can create an illusion of progress or happiness, but underneath, unresolved pain quietly festers. Ignoring our inner world may feel safe, but it keeps us trapped in a cycle where healing is postponed, lessons are left unlearned, and clarity remains out of reach. By resisting the urge to fill every moment with noise, we create space for reflection, understanding, and genuine emotional recovery. When you avoid temporary distractions, you allow yourself to confront your emotions head on. You learn to sit with discomfort without immediately seeking relief. This practice builds resilience and self-awareness. You begin to notice patterns in your thoughts and feelings, and you start to understand the underlying causes of your pain or dissatisfaction. Without distractions, you have the mental and emotional bandwidth to examine your relationships, your choices, and the ways in which you may be unconsciously contributing to your own suffering. This awareness is the first step toward transformation. Here the thoughts is, avoiding distractions also allows you to prioritize what truly matters. In a world full of constant demands and superficial engagements, it is easy to lose sight of your inner needs. Distractions keep you busy, but they rarely nourish your soul. By consciously choosing to step away from temporary diversions, you create the space to focus on self-care, reflection, and meaningful activities that support your growth. You begin to recognize what is essential and what is trivial, what serves your long-term well-being, and what merely provides short-term relief. This clarity helps you make choices that are aligned with your values, rather than impulsively seeking comfort in ways that do not serve you. Moreover, resisting temporary distractions strengthens your emotional intelligence. When you face your emotions directly without numbing or avoidance, you learn to manage them effectively. You develop patience, tolerance, and the ability to navigate life's challenges with composure. Distractions may temporarily hide your feelings, but they do not equip you with the skills to handle life's difficulties. Avoiding them teaches you that true comfort and peace come from within, not from external stimuli. Ultimately, avoiding temporary distractions is a conscious choice to invest in your inner growth. It is an act of courage because it requires you to face discomfort, reflect honestly, and take responsibility for your emotional and mental well-being. It is in these moments of focus and presence that healing begins, clarity emerges, and personal strength develops. By refusing to hide behind temporary diversions, you empower yourself to experience life fully, to grow deeply, and to emerge stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. Forgiveness is essential. One of the heaviest burdens we carry in life is the weight of resentment, anger, and grudges. When someone hurts us, whether intentionally or unintentionally, it leaves an imprint on our hearts and minds. We replay the incident over and over, questioning, blaming, and reliving the pain. Over time, these unresolved feelings can shape our thoughts, emotions, and even our actions, keeping us stuck in cycles of bitterness and negativity. Forgiveness is not about condoning the wrong that was done to us, nor is it about forgetting or pretending the hurt never happened. It is about freeing ourselves from the prison of past pain, about reclaiming our peace, and about allowing our hearts to heal fully. Holding on to resentment is like carrying a heavy stone with you everywhere you go. At first, the weight may seem manageable, but over time it exhausts you, limits your freedom, and clouds your perspective. Every day you give your energy to someone or something that no longer serves your well-being. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is the act of placing that stone down. It does not mean the other person is absolved of responsibility or that the past changes. It means that you are choosing to prioritize your own peace over the continued suffering caused by holding on. It is a conscious decision to release the emotional chains that keep you tethered to hurt and anger. Forgiveness is also essential because it allows for personal growth. When we forgive, we acknowledge that life is imperfect and that people, including ourselves, make mistakes. It's good. We accept that hurt is a part of the human experience and that dwelling on it only limits our ability to move forward. By forgiving, we develop emotional maturity, resilience, and compassion. We learn that holding grudges does not protect us. Instead, it blinds us to opportunities for growth, connection, and inner peace. Forgiveness becomes a bridge from suffering to understanding, from pain to empowerment, and from bitterness to freedom. It is important to note that forgiveness is not always easy. Sometimes the wounds are deep and the hurt is profound. It may take time, reflection, and repeated effort to truly let go. That is perfectly normal. Forgiveness is a process, not a single act. It begins with acknowledging your pain, understanding its impact, and gradually releasing the negative emotions attached to it. Sometimes it involves setting boundaries or changing the nature of your relationship with the person who hurt you. True forgiveness does not require reconciliation. It requires liberation from the emotional weight that keeps you tethered to the past. Forgiving yourself is equally important. We are often our own harshest critics, carrying guilt and shame for decisions or mistakes we have made. Self-forgiveness is the acknowledgement that you are human, that errors are part of life, and that you deserve compassion and understanding. Without forgiving yourself, true healing remains incomplete because the internal criticism continues to fester and prevent you from moving forward. Ultimately, forgiveness is an act of self-love and empowerment. It is a decision to reclaim your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. By choosing to forgive, you open your heart to peace, clarity, and growth. You release the power of past hurts over your present life. You create space for joy, gratitude, and love to flourish. Forgiveness is not a favor to others. It is a gift to yourself. A gift that allows your soul to breathe freely and a cornerstone of lasting healing. Embracing patience is one of the most powerful yet underappreciated aspects of healing and personal growth. In a world that values speed, instant gratification, and quick fixes, we often forget that meaningful transformation takes time. Healing is not a process that can be rushed, and personal growth does not occur overnight. It unfolds slowly, layer by layer, like a river carving a canyon or a seed growing into a tree. Patience is the quiet strength that allows us to stay present, to trust the process, and to give ourselves the time we need to truly heal and evolve. Many people struggle with patience because they want immediate results. When faced with emotional pain, it is tempting to expect relief to come quickly, to hope that grief, disappointment, or heartbreak will vanish with a simple gesture or distraction. But healing is rarely that simple. It requires time, introspection, and consistent effort. Embracing patience means understanding that the process of emotional recovery cannot be forced. It means giving yourself permission to move at your own pace, to experience your feelings fully, and to take the necessary steps toward growth without judgment or self-criticism. Patience also teaches resilience. Life is unpredictable, and setbacks are inevitable. Sometimes we take a step forward only to feel like we are moving backward again. In these moments, impatience can lead to frustration, despair, or even giving up entirely. But patience allows you to weather the storms of life with calmness and grace. It helps you recognize that temporary setbacks are not failures but opportunities for learning and strengthening your character. Through patience, you cultivate the understanding that progress is not always linear and that every step, no matter how small, brings you closer to wholeness. Furthermore, embracing patience allows for deeper self understanding. When you slow down and allow yourself to process life at a natural pace, you gain the ability to observe your thoughts, behaviors, and emotions more clearly. You notice patterns that may have gone unseen in the rush of daily life. You begin to understand the lessons that challenges are teaching you, and you develop a more compassionate and realistic perspective toward yourself and others. Patience gives your mind the clarity to see not just what is happening, but why it is happening and how it can guide your personal growth. Patience is also essential in building meaningful relationships. Healing often involves reconciling with yourself before connecting authentically with others. By practicing patience, you give yourself the time to cultivate inner stability, emotional intelligence, and compassion. When you approach relationships from a place of patience, you are less reactive, more understanding, and more capable of nurturing connections that are healthy and lasting. You no longer rush love, forgiveness, or trust. Instead, you allow them to grow naturally and sustainably. Ultimately, embracing patience is an act of faith in yourself, in life, and in the process of healing. It is the recognition that everything valuable, including emotional recovery, personal growth, and inner peace, requires time to unfold. Patience is not passive, it is active endurance. It is a commitment to keep moving forward, to keep feeling, reflecting, and growing, even when progress seems slow or invisible. By cultivating patience, you honor your journey, respect your emotions, and allow your true self to emerge fully and authentically. Rediscovering your inner strength is one of the most profound steps you can take on the journey of healing and personal growth. Life often challenges us in ways that leave us doubting ourselves, questioning our abilities, and feeling weaker than we truly are. Heartbreak, failure, loss, or disappointment can create a sense of vulnerability that makes us rely too heavily on others for support or validation. But within each of us exists a reservoir of strength, courage, and resilience that is often forgotten in the noise of life. Rediscovering this inner strength requires patience, introspection, and a willingness to face life's challenges directly, rather than avoiding or running from them. Your inner strength is not always about grand gestures of heroism or visible achievements. It is subtle, quiet, and deeply personal. It is the calm voice that tells you to keep going when life feels unbearable, the courage to stand up for yourself even when it is difficult, and the determination to continue your journey despite setbacks. When you consciously take the time to reconnect with yourself, to be alone with your thoughts and emotions, and to confront your fears, you begin to remember the strength that has always been within you. It is the strength that carried you through every hardship you have faced in the past, even if you did not recognize it at the time. Rediscovering inner strength often begins with reflection. When you pause to examine your life, your experiences, and your emotions, you start to notice patterns of resilience you may have overlooked. You realize that you have survived challenges before, that you have endured pain and disappointment, and that you have emerged stronger each time. Recognizing this builds confidence in your ability to face the present and future challenges. You learn that strength is not the absence of fear or struggle, but the courage to continue despite them. Inner strength is also closely tied to self-reliance. When you depend solely on others for validation, comfort, or approval, you may feel powerful only temporarily, and that power is fragile. Rediscovering your own strength means understanding that your well-being and happiness are ultimately your responsibility. It is about trusting yourself, believing in your capabilities, and knowing that you have the inner resources to handle whatever life presents. This self-reliance creates a sense of freedom and empowerment that cannot be taken away by external circumstances. Furthermore, rediscovering your inner strength allows you to face life with clarity and purpose. Strength rooted in self-awareness is not aggressive or controlling. It is calm, focused, and steady. It gives you the courage to make difficult decisions, the resilience to endure challenges, and the patience to continue growing even when progress is slow. It also fosters emotional balance, helping you respond to life's difficulties with wisdom rather than impulsive reaction. Ultimately, rediscovering your inner strength is a journey of reconnection with yourself. It is an invitation to remember that you are more capable, resilient, and courageous than you often give yourself credit for. It is about realizing that life's difficulties are not meant to break you, but to reveal the depth of your power and resilience. By embracing solitude, reflection, and self-awareness, you tap into a strength that has always existed within you. A strength that will guide you through healing, growth, and the pursuit of a life lived with confidence, clarity, and purpose. Preparing for growth and renewal is a vital part of the healing process, yet it is often overlooked. After experiencing pain, heartbreak, or disappointment, it is natural to focus solely on recovery, on trying to feel better, regain stability, or simply survive. But true healing goes beyond mere recovery. It involves preparing yourself to step into a stronger, wiser, and more vibrant version of your life. Renewal is not accidental, it is intentional. It comes when you consciously use periods of solitude, reflection, and self-care to rebuild your inner world, to shed what no longer serves you, and to cultivate the mindset, habits, and emotional resilience necessary for lasting growth. Preparing for growth begins with acceptance. Life does not always go according to plan, and challenges are inevitable. Accepting your current reality without resistance or denial allows you to redirect your energy toward constructive actions rather than wasting it on frustration or resentment. Acceptance is not passive. It is an active acknowledgement that the past cannot be changed, but the future is yours to shape. This mindset creates fertile ground for growth because it allows you to focus on what you can control: your thoughts, your choices, and your response to circumstances. Renewal also requires a conscious effort to let go of what no longer serves you. Emotional baggage, toxic relationships, negative habits, and limiting beliefs can weigh heavily on your progress if left unchecked. Preparing for growth means identifying these obstacles, facing them honestly, and releasing them with intention. It may involve setting boundaries, forgiving others or yourself, or cultivating healthier patterns of thought and behavior. By clearing space within yourself, you make room for new possibilities, experiences, and opportunities to emerge. In addition, preparing for growth involves nurturing your inner resources. Just as a garden requires water, sunlight, and care to thrive, your mind, body, and soul require attention and nourishment. This may include practices such as self-reflection, meditation, journaling, physical care, or learning new skills. By investing in yourself, you strengthen your capacity to face challenges, make thoughtful decisions, and embrace life fully. Each small act of self-care contributes to your readiness for renewal, building the foundation for the person you are becoming. Growth and renewal also demand patience and trust in the process. Transformation is rarely immediate. It unfolds gradually, often in ways that are not immediately visible. It requires persistence, resilience, and faith in yourself. Trusting the process means believing that every challenge you face, every moment of solitude, and every act of reflection is shaping you into a stronger, wiser, and more capable individual. It allows you to move forward without being discouraged by setbacks, knowing that each step is part of a larger journey of personal evolution. Ultimately, preparing for growth and renewal is about consciously stepping into your own power. It is about using periods of healing to build a life that is more aligned with your values, passions, and purpose. It is about transforming pain into wisdom, weakness into strength, and struggle into opportunity. By committing to this preparation, you ensure that when you re-enter the world, you do so not as a diminished version of yourself, but as someone renewed, whole, and ready to embrace life with courage, clarity, and joy. Renewal is not just a destination. It is a deliberate journey, and every step you take in preparation strengthens the path ahead. Returning whole, not half, is the ultimate goal of healing and personal growth. Life often tests us with experiences that leave us fractured, whether emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. Heartbreak, loss, failure, and disappointment can create cracks in our sense of self, and in the process, it can be tempting to rush back into life before we are truly ready. We may try to reconnect with people, take on new challenges, or immerse ourselves in activities as a way to fill the void we feel inside. But returning to life prematurely, when our inner world is still unsettled, means bringing only a fragmented version of ourselves to everything we do. To live fully, love deeply, and act with clarity, We must commit to returning whole, not half. Returning whole begins with acknowledging your journey. Healing is not a linear process. It is messy, unpredictable, and often slow. There will be moments of progress and moments of doubt. Embracing your experiences, the pain, the reflection, the solitude, allows you to integrate them into your sense of self. Each challenge you face, each lesson you learn, and each tear you shed contributes to the rebuilding of your inner strength. By honoring this journey, you cultivate a sense of wholeness that cannot be hurried or bypassed. Wholeness also requires a commitment to self-awareness. Returning whole means understanding your emotions, recognizing your patterns, and knowing your values. It is about being honest with yourself about what you need, what you are capable of, and what you are ready to give or receive. This clarity ensures that when you engage with the world again, you do so with integrity, confidence, and presence. You are no longer acting out of fear, insecurity, or the need for external validation. You are acting from a place of inner alignment and authenticity. Returning whole demands patience and care. Just as a wound cannot fully heal if it is reopened too soon, the heart, mind, and soul need time to mend before being exposed again to life's demands. Rushing the process often results in half-hearted efforts, repeated mistakes, or unnecessary suffering. Taking the time to nurture yourself, to process your experiences, and to rebuild your energy ensures that you return to life stronger, wiser, and more resilient than before. Wholeness is not something imposed from outside. It is cultivated within, quietly and consistently. Moreover, returning whole strengthens your ability to connect with others meaningfully. When we are fragmented, our interactions are often influenced by unresolved pain, insecurity, or dependence. By returning whole, you bring clarity, empathy, and emotional stability to your relationships. You can engage with others not to fill a void, but to share genuine love, understanding, and joy. Wholeness allows you to give fully without expecting to receive in return, to support without losing yourself, and to communicate without fear or hesitation. Ultimately, returning whole is about embracing life fully with all its possibilities, challenges, and beauty. It is about stepping back into the world as a complete, empowered, and self-aware individual. It is the culmination of patience, reflection, self-care, and courage. The result of having faced your pain, embraced solitude, cultivated inner strength, and prepared for renewal. When you return whole, you are no longer merely surviving. You are living intentionally with purpose, resilience, and grace. Life will continue to test you. But now you face it as a complete version of yourself, capable of growth, capable of love, and capable of making the most of every opportunity that comes your way.